got a chance to see the directorial debut of Scarlett Johansson in Eleanor the Great. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, where we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I'm your host, Frank Zanko, an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, we're going to talk about Eleanor the Great. It has not come out yet. It's fresh off of TIFF, which is the Toronto International Film Festival. I think it did won a few awards there, but of course it did, because I used to own a film festival. And I can tell you that anytime a big celebrity made a debut or was acting in something or whatever else, I immediately gave them awards, because you want the accolades, you want the headlines that you gave awards to a big celebrity. So I don't think the awards mean a whole lot in this case, but we'll talk about it. It was a blind screening, so I had no idea what I was walking into. But let's talk about the good, okay? So, actually, let's talk about the thing that Scarlett Johansson's actually said about the film. And she said it would be easier to make a sequel, to raise money for a sequel to a $180 million movie than it was to raise money for this independent film. And I do not doubt it. I do not doubt it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think she made some bad decisions here, as far as she did obviously raise the money. And what was the budget? I don't know for a fact, but if I was going to guess, I was going to guess probably around $20 million, mostly because, she's used to working in a higher budget range. And though this was not something like, I could have shot this very, very inexpensively, but these guys that come in after working with big budgets don't know how to work with small budgets. That happened with James Cameron after he had worked on Titanic, and he went back to Dark Angel, and he's like, man, I just worked with a $100 million movie, and now I got to work with a $2 million TV show, and he was lost. And it just happens. So, as for all I know, this movie was upwards of $30 million, but I'm going to be generous and just say it was $20 million. And they're expecting $170 million gross on this, and I'm going to tell you why that's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all, in my prediction, okay? I could be completely wrong, but that's my thing. So, as far as her directorial debut, so have I seen worse? Absolutely, I've seen worse directorial debuts for sure. I mean, I can point to Anna Kendrick. I thought her directing for The Dating Game, a killer movie, I thought that was horrible. I thought her directing was really bad. But Scarlett's directing wasn't bad, but I can tell that she's more of a actor's director. Okay, so the positive point of this is that the acting is very, very good. And Erin Kellerman, I think her name is, this is the first time I've seen her, I think, I didn't see Willow, the series. I believe she's in there too. Erin Kellerman. But this is the first time she's played a character actually even worth talking about, because she played the villain, if you call it a villain, from Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, where she played the terrorist, but don't call them terrorists because they're really the good guys. Remember that? So she played that role, and completely unlikable character. And then she was in Solo, a Star Wars story, as the activist there. There's nothing to talk about there. So this is the first time we actually got to see some of her acting chops, as far as I'm concerned. And if she was in Willow, I never saw it. But of course, that movie got removed from Disney Plus completely. So even if you have Disney Plus, you can't watch it. So again, this is the first time I actually saw her acting. And I thought she was generally good. I did not realize that the lead of this film, which is June Squibb, she looks 80, 82. She is actually 95 years old, and they do say she's 90, but I didn't believe it. And then you have Chiwetel. I'm sure I say his name wrong every time. Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I like him a lot. I've liked him since he was on Serenity, and of course he was in Marvel, and Aaron was in Marvel. So we have two Marvel actors being directed by a Marvel actor. So there's that. So the acting is generally good, and so as far as Scarlett Johansson's concerned, because there are directors that are very technical directors that know how to play with the camera, know how to make interesting things, blah blah blah, how to paint with the camera. That is not Scarlett Johansson's strengths. Not as far as what I can tell from this film. Just like I was saying with, if you watch my review of Downton Abbey, if you watch that, I did speak to Kimberly tonight, so that was kind of cool. The girl that I met when I was in London. But anyway, so the first opening scene of that had a very long tracking shot all the way from the street all the way to the thing. So that's a technical director. Okay, that's a director that says, I have a vision of this shot, blah blah blah. Or you have the shot of, the shot from the ceiling, and the person starts that upside down and goes, all that stuff. Or even, which I love this shot during the fight scene with Megan 2, where she comes up on the ground and then flips herself back up, and the camera flips with the person. All really, really good stuff to technical directing on all of those things. And that's what makes things interesting. Like, one of my friends back when I was in LA had directed Weeds and Medium and a pile of TV shows. Alias, that was the other one that stuck in my head. And I said, what's the secret to directing? If you were to give me like one pointer for directing, what would it be? And he said, everything has to move. Either your camera has to move or your subjects have to move. If everything stays static too long, it becomes boring. That's probably good advice. So that's the thing here. So, and I say the camera's moving. She doesn't really have any of that. This is a straight drama, okay? And I'm going to get into the plot, but that's my biggest thing. I think the DP was really good. I think it was a female DP, but she was able to sculpt with the lighting, especially with the drama. There's not much you can do with the lighting. So I think that she kept everything, generally 3D type of thing, where the background, everything was kind of separated. There was some color in the faces and stuff like that. I liked that. So anyway, before we continue, remember to give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you can. If you can subscribe, please do. Ring that bell, ding ding. Share this video out there so everybody knows that Scarlett Johansson is making her directorial debut. Also, remember too that I'm a writer, so if you'd like to check out anything that I've written, you can go to Amazon.com, just type my name in, or there's a link in the description below. You can check out my 4-novel series, which is an epic sci-fi. So if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, Star Trek, it's got a little piece of everything in there. We have an eclectic crew, and it was made into a board game, an RPG, a graphic novel. It's also on Audible. And you can definitely check out that. And everything I have is on Kindle. So if you want to check out my YA fantasy novel, we have Tales of Ravenor, the Iron Witch. So if you like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, it's all got little pieces of that in there. We got dragons and all magic and all this other stuff in there. And then my new comic, Fairy Tales of Terror, is doing very well on Kickstarter right now. We just completed our second week. We have 2 weeks left. So jump in there now before it's over. We are passing $7,500. The goal was only $25,000, so we are unlocking stretch goals. So we're fully funded, unlocking stretch goals. I unlocked a miniature figure, STL, of a Psycho Cinderella, because we have Psycho Cinderella, we have a Killer Captain Hook. They're all running around New York City killing people because they have an agenda. And we have Tiger Lily from Neverland, and that's my next figure, by the way, chasing down to stop them. Will she stop them? And what are they doing? That's all the stuff that's taking place right now. It's awesome. You can go to the QR code here or the link in the description below. It'll take you right there and jump into it. You can do digital. You can do signed, all that stuff. But anyway, just jump back into Eleanor the Great, because I definitely... Okay, so I also have a problem with the title. We don't see the title till the very end of the film. So here's my problem with the film. Okay, so now we know the acting was generally good, and she was directing the acting generally good, but there really wasn't much more to the technical stuff. There's no good camera movements that I need to talk about or anything like that. There's no, shots that just stuck out and said, you know what, that was really cool. None of that. Okay, so it's a straight drama. It's a no frills drama. All right, so I sat there because at the very beginning, it's about two 90-year-old women, right? I'm like, do I really want to sit here for 2 hours watching 90-year-old women? And then the directorial debut title came up for Scarlett, and I said, all right, I'll sit and watch it. So we start out with Eleanor and Bessie, and they are best friends. Both their husbands are dead. They have kids of their own, but they live together. They have everything's on a schedule with her, because we find out pretty quickly that Eleanor is wears the pants. Okay, she's the alpha. Okay, she talks shit to everybody. She makes up shit. But Bessie is the one that stands in the background. She goes, "Isn't that right, Bessie? Isn't that right, Bessie?" And she's just the dog that wags the tail kind of thing. But then, and we find out too that Bessie was a Holocaust survivor. Okay, I'm like, really? We're going down this road? Okay. And but anyway, so there's Jewish stars in their apartment and all this stuff, and they live in Florida. Okay, that becomes important in a second. But anyway, they're growing old in Florida, and they go to this is all like the first 5 minutes. So I'm not going to go into any spoilers or anything like that. But anyway, they go to a grocery store, and we find out that Eleanor was not a Holocaust survivor. Okay, Bessie was, because this guy says, "What do you talk about the Holocaust for? You weren't there." He's like, "I can still talk about it, blah, blah, blah." And immediately right there, isn't that right, Bessie? And immediately right there, I did not like this woman. I did not like her. Now, is the writing for her generally realistic? Sure. And that's the other thing, is that the writer here is the first thing she's ever written. The first thing she's ever written. Obviously, she and Scarlett Johansson are friends, and that's how this whole thing happened. But anyway, and I'm going to get into the financing side here as well. We go to the hospital now because Bessie passed out, and she says, "Oh, you're going to be fine." But no, Bessie dies. Okay? So, again, it's the first 5 minutes of the film. This is the setup. She says, "I'm just going to go live with my daughter now," who, and even her friend says, "The daughter doesn't talk to you?" Or what? So obviously there's animosity here, but the daughter kind of plays it off, which I respect the daughter for, even if she didn't get along with her mother. And I can see why very, very quickly, why they didn't get along. Because Eleanor, obviously she just invited herself over, and they're busy. They're like, "I can't really take care of you. I really want to kind of put you in a home," which is kind of mean. But, I mean, that was a general thing. But she signs her up for stuff, but she basically signs her, invites herself over to live with them. And then on top of that, she insults the daughter to no end. Everything that comes out of her mouth is an insult. Everything. So I'm like, I do not like this woman at all. How long do I have to put up with this woman? I was kind of hoping it was going to be a flashback thing where we only see the old woman, kind of like Titanic. We only see her for a little bit, but no, she's in the whole thing. So anyway, the daughter wants her to make friends, kind of like a kid, and sends her off to this group to do like Broadway singing. And she's like, "Oh, screw that," right? She hears one of them singing, and she says, "Nah, screw that shit." And she ends up meeting this other woman where she helps her with her zipper or whatever else. And she says, "You coming to the group?" And right there, I was already pushing it, going like, how did she know she was part of the group? She just walked over to help you with things. There's like 5 other groups happening in here, but you would assume that she was part of this group. So it really kind of pushes the envelope. So the writing is, some of the dialogue is okay, but the plot is bad. I mean, the plot is bad. So she ends up in this group, who just assume that she's a Holocaust survivor. They just assume it. What? And then when she actually tries to get up and leave, they go, no, it's okay, you can talk about it. Not, oh, maybe you're in, because she actually says I may be in the wrong room, or, and they don't even bother even acknowledging that. So it's kind of, the setup is really pushed. But anyway, instead of saying, no, I'm not a Holocaust survivor, what does she do? She lies. She lies and tells Bessie's story as if it's her own. Now I'm done. Now I'm over. In the first 5 minutes of this film, I am done. I'm like, you are an awful, awful person. How do I watch this when you're leeching off your best friend's story so that you can get friends? That is horrible. You are a horrible person. And it really affected me too, because as you know, I actually wrote a Holocaust survivor book. It's a biography. It's a true story that I interviewed somebody. So this really hit me going, what the fuck? So when I said, that she had a problem financing this thing, of course she did. Of course she did. She's like, how do you go to an investor and say, hey, I got a drama, I'm going to be directing it. She's going to say, well, are you in it? No, I'm just directing it. So who's in it? Nobody probably would have noticed. A couple of guys from Marvel that were in the background. Yeah. They're like, okay, well, who wrote it? Oh, this person never wrote anything before. I'm an investor. I'd be like, no freaking way. And that's why I'm like, I don't care. She made a mistake. Okay? Because, of course, and then when you pitch it going, well, what's it about? Well, it's about a woman that fakes being a Holocaust survivor. What? What? That's your pitch? Awful. Just awful. But we'll talk about the rest of it, but that's why she had a problem financing this thing. Now, if she had taken over, okay, so the pieces are, so Nina, which is Erin Kellerman's character, is in this group too because she's in NYU. She's trying to go through this course where she is a reporter. And she really latches on to Eleanor's story. Not that she didn't latch on to anybody else's, just Eleanor's. I'm like, what? Did these other people not have anything to latch on to? You latch on to this one woman? Very weird. But anyway, so it ends up that her dad is a famous New York reporter on air. And Bessie, who was a big fan of theirs and of his, and Eleanor. But they're in Florida. How are they watching this guy? And why are they listening to reporting in New York? It didn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. Her and Nina become friends, and she just lost her mom. So she, like 6 months ago, and I can relate to that. As you know, I lost my mom 2 months ago. But she's trying to deal with that, and there's a blossom thing. Then so the B story is her and her dad dealing with the loss of her mom. That was a far better plot line than the A plot line of her lying about the Holocaust. I have no doubt that she had a problem raising money for this. Now, she should have taken over not that Joel's, I always say his name wrong. But anyway, not that he isn't a good actor. He's very, very good. He is a very, very good actor. However, she should have been in it. That would have helped her raise the money. She could have taken his part, because it's a very small part for the most part. No pun intended there. Part. But anyway, she should have taken that role and still been able to direct, and just have somebody else take over for the couple of scenes that he's in, right? And then you could have said, because she's going to be a bigger draw than him, unfortunately. That's just the case. She's more famous than he is. It's just the way it is. And I think that would have helped her, just like Clint Eastwood's in his own stuff that he directs. and he's a main role, but she could have taken a smaller role in it. I think that would have been very, very smart. But anyway, she raised the money, so there's nothing to talk about there. It has heart, I'll give it that, but especially on the B story. But on the A story, I just really I didn't want to see her. I didn't give a shit what happened to her at all. That's a problem. That if you care more about the B story and you don't care about the main character, I don't know if your script works, man. So it depends. So now, recommendation-wise, I'll recommend it for the acting, for it being an independent film, if you want to check out her directorial debut. However, if you can't get over the fact of the main character being a bossy little bee that steals somebody else's identity for the most part, claims it's her own, and it has to do with the Holocaust. If you can't get over that, then you're not going to like this movie. So, and that's why Eleanor the Great at what? She is not a great woman. No, she is the villain as far as I'm concerned. Story-wise, I can't recommend this film. Story-wise, I can. Acting, I can. But if I'm going to give this a scale of 1 to 10, I'm actually going to give it an above than average rating because of the acting. So I'm going to give it a 5.5 because I can tell that all of the actors really gave a shit about this. And it was good to see that they were really kind of giving them all into a script that nobody should have touched. And normally a B story overtaking an A story, that tells you something. All right? Well, that's it for me. Oh, and I walked into all the other theaters like I normally do. Of course, the anime movie, the Demon Slayer one, was full. Both theaters that had The Conjuring in it, full. Thursday night, full. Fantastic Four, one person was in the theater. One person. That movie's gone. Whatever it's made, $515 million, that's as far as it goes. But The Conjuring still going strong. And Demon Slayer. So, there's your thing. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you can. If you can't subscribe, please do. Ring that bell, ding, ding. Share this video out there. Check out my stuff on Amazon. Type my name in or link description below. And definitely jump into Fairy Tales of Terror with Psycho Cinderella and Tiger Lily and Captain Hook. QR code here. Link in the description below. Help get us to like 10 grand. I think we can get to 10 grand. But anyway, the Tiger Lily figure, we're going to unlock at 8,500. So definitely get there. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you on the next one. Have a great week.